Hey everybody, Ryan here at eTrailer. Today on our 2022 Ford Ranger, we're going to be showing you how to install the Demco towed vehicle charge line kit. Before we get into that though, why don't we just take a minute, talk about this, and kind of understand why it's a good idea to use something like this. A charge line kit is one of those simple but really important components, and a lot of times it's overlooked. And what it's going to do is essentially trickle charge or maintain your Ranger's battery whenever you're flat towing it. And that's necessary because the supplemental braking systems that you use on these trucks use battery power whenever they operate. And so when you're over the road for, extended periods of time, and that battery or that braking system is constantly just draining on your battery a little bit, it could potentially leave you with a dead battery whenever you get to your destination. And not to mention too, it's not good to just constantly deplete the battery and charge it. There's only so many cycles, so it should help kind of prolong the life of your battery as well. It's one of the things that gives you peace of mind knowing that you're not going to have to deal with a dead battery when you get to where you're going. And not to mention too, you'll know that your braking system has the proper voltage it needs to operate correctly. And even on, I'm not 100% sure with this exact truck, but a lot of these newer late model cars now, a lot of the systems are electronically controlled too. Your steering, braking, all those types of things. So they rely on having proper voltage to function and everything. So it's just one of the things that, it's kind of a no-brainer in my opinion. It's the right way to set up your flat tow when it comes to the smaller details at least. The way the kit's going to work, it's going to use auxiliary power from your motorhome 7-way, and it's going to run up to your battery in a sense, and that's where it's going to get that additional amperage. And it's not going to affect your motorhome's batteries. The motorhome has its own charging system and some amperage to spare. This isn't going to bring a battery back to life either. Your battery has to be in good working order, for this to do its job. And there's several different charge line kits available. I'm kind of partial to this one, to be honest with you, because it's really simple. I like that it uses a fuse. That way if something does go wrong, it pops the fuse, and you're not dealing with an automatic breaker reset, essentially. And this also uses a diode. And so what the diode's going to do is prevent backfeeding. So like when you're not hooked up to your motorhome, you're not going to have 12-volt power from your truck's battery at the front of it where your 6-way connector is. It'll stop it about somewhere here in this area. And so that'll really help prevent corrosion in your 6-way connector, because you're not going to have hot power down there all the time, and that's what kind of tends to cause corrosion if some moisture gets in there or anything like that. So the only way power can come in is from the motorhome, up the wire, and into the battery. Other than that though, really not a whole lot to it. Kind of a no-brainer part to use, at least in my opinion. As far as the install goes, super easy. It's one wire. You'll hook up one end of the wire into the back of your 6-way connector, run it up, and connect it to the battery. Best done when you're setting up the rest of your flat tow setup. If you're doing your tow bar wiring and stuff and hooking all this up in here anyway, do it at the same time. If you're adding this later, maybe you're coming to find out you should use one of these, it can definitely be done with everything put together as well. There's quite a bit of space on these Rangers to work. So regardless of the situation, you should be in pretty good shape. And if you'd like to see how it's done, feel free to hang around. We'll go ahead and hook it up together now. To begin our installation, I first just started to route some of our wiring while we have the front bumper off. This can be done with the bumper on. A matter of fact, I just wanted to route these with this off. That way we could see better and have a better understanding. So when I started these, at this point we'll put the bumper on and kind of go from there. But what you're going to want to do is take the wires and route it, in the area you're going to be hooking up to your 6-way. I just ran it up through here and straight up into the engine compartment. To get our charge line set up now, since we have our wire ran up here, we're going to hook it up to our 6-way connector. And I suggest doing this at the same time that you're doing your diode wiring, since you have everything apart. And the one we're going to hook up our charge line to will be that center post. So we'll just back that set screw out almost all the way, but not enough to let it come out of there. And the wire is going to be pre-stripped already. And so this will just slide right into that center terminal. Hold that down and tighten up the screw. So this is what the back of your connector is going to look like once you have all of the diode wires hooked up. With everything hooked up, you can slide our dust cover over, and what you can do is apply some sealer or grease to the terminals just to help protect it against corrosion. I like to wait to do that at the very end once we verified everything works. That way if you have an issue, we're not dealing with a huge mess. So for now though, I'll just temporarily mount this up to the front here. Like I said, once you verify everything works, I'll come in, put our grease in there and tighten this down completely. But with that said, now you can run the wires up into the engine compartment like we showed you. The engine compartment, our charge line comes right up through here, and this is going to get hooked up to the positive battery terminal. When you're hooking this up, make sure the fuse is not installed. Once we have it connected, you can pop it in there and close up the cap. But I'm going to hook it up to this post because it's kind of an empty post. It'll work out real well. So I'm going to remove the nut using a 10mm. We'll just slide right over, and we can tighten it back down. Now we can take the included fuse, push it into place, close it up, and that's really all there is to that. And that'll finish up our look at and our installation of the Demco charge line kit on our 2022 Ford Ranger.